Alright, today we're building a roster for a Major League Baseball team. The catch is we can only use one player from each country or territory represented in MLB. Sounds easy at first. You get the best players from USA, Dominican Republic, Venezuela, Puerto Rico, Japan, and so on, and it looks like an all-star team. The problem is you have to use players from every country. Quite a few countries only have one or two players in MLB, and sometimes they're not very good. Then you have to worry about filling every position on the roster. Oftentimes there's no room for a country's best player. He gets bumped by another country's best player. So when I name a player for this roster, it doesn't necessarily mean he's the best player from that country. He's just the best one I could fit on the roster. The point of this video is to try and put together a competitive team with players from all over the world. No more than one from each country. Most of these players appeared in MLB in 2023. Only 2 players from this 26-man roster have not. They appeared in 2022 and are still actively playing. At the end, I'll add 2 more players so we have an expanded 28-man roster like MLB teams do in September. Those 2 will be from 2 additional countries not in the original 26-man roster, and those 2 appeared in MLB in 2022, not in 2023. We'll have 13 position players and 13 pitchers. I could have chosen the players a little differently, but this is what I settled on. If there are any players you would change out or move around, tell us all about it in the comments. I said countries and territories, so that includes the U.S. territories of Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Virgin Islands. It also includes the Netherlands possessions of Curacao and Aruba separately. And we're going by birthplace for this one. We could use players based on where their parents or grandparents came from, but that would expand the pool a little too much. Going by birthplace, we have just enough players to make this work, and that's what makes this fun. And yes, there are some who were simply born in that country and left before they learned how to walk. If I had a choice between a player like that and someone who grew up in the country, I chose the latter, but sometimes it was the only choice. Anyway, let's get started. Starting at catcher from Mexico, Alejandro Kirk. A good defensive catcher, top 10 in defensive wins above replacement among all MLB catchers. Offensively, not much power or speed, but good at getting on base, with an on-base percentage over .330. Numbers are down from last season when he was an all-star and won the AL Silver Slugger, but he's still an above-average catcher. One more catcher, from Brazil, Yan Gomes. Gomes has to be one of the catchers for this team because he's the only active Brazilian player in MLB, but would not be a liability. He is a good catcher, bats over .260, and he's got some power, with 8 home runs and a slugging over 400 in 65 games. Put the 2 together and you've got some good choices with Kirk and Gomes at catcher. At first base from Cuba, Yandy Diaz. He was selected as an all-star for the first time this year at the age of 31, batting over .300, on base over .400, slugging over .500, for an OPS over .900. At this time he leads the American League in on-base percentage, 14 home runs, on track to hit over 20 by the end of the season. Who wouldn't want this guy as their first baseman? At second base from Curacao, Ozzie Albies, an all-star this year for the 3rd time. He's got 23 home runs and 69 RBI already. His career highs are 30 home runs and 106 RBI from 2 years ago when he won his 2nd Silver Slugger award. He's sure to crush those numbers this year, on his way to possibly winning another Slugger. Never won a Gold Glove, but he's got a .992 fielding percentage, all 98 games played at second base. At third base from Korea, Ha-Sung Kim, the best Korean position player in MLB right now. In his 3rd Major League season, he's already reached career highs with 14 home runs and 18 steals, caught stealing only 5 times. His line is .270, .363, .447, with an OPS over 800. So offensively, he's really good. Only problem here might be the defense. Most of the time he plays at second, and he's a very good defensive second baseman. But I had to make room for Albies, so we moved Kim to 3rd where he's only played 19 games this year. Not sure how he'd do as the full-time 3rd baseman. At short, from Aruba, Xander Bogaerts. Numbers are down from last year when he picked up his 5th Silver Slugger, but the numbers are still good, better than you'll find with most shortstops. On-base percentage over .340, 11 home runs, 17 doubles, 10 steals, caught stealing only once. 89 games at short with a .991 fielding percentage. If that holds till the end of the season, it'll be a career high for him. Other infielders from Honduras, Mauricio Dubon, the only Major League player from Honduras currently playing in MLB. An everyday player, bats .268, 5 home runs, 6 stolen bases. Not bad offensively. Defensively, he's flexible. This year alone, he's played at first, second, short, and outfield. More at second than anywhere else. Last year, he also played at third, so he can play anywhere. From Taiwan, Yu Chung, not much of a hitter. He does have some power with 5 home runs in 28 games, but his average is well below the Mendoza line. Defensively, like Dubon, he's got flexibility. He's been used at second, third, and short this year, with a preference for short. In the outfield from Venezuela, Ronald Acuna Jr., the front runner for the National League MVP, with a line of 332, 409, 577, 23 home runs, 26 doubles, 46 stolen bases, caught 8 times. He leads the league in steals and runs scored, one of the best, if not the best, in the league. From the Dominican Republic, Juan Soto, an all-star this year for the 3rd time, leads the league with 94 walks. If he stays on top, it'll be the 3rd time he tops the league in walks for the season. On-base percentage 417, slugging 496, with 19 home runs. From the Bahamas, Jazz Chisholm Jr. It's his first season as an outfielder in 2023. In previous years, he played at second and short, so if necessary, he could be moved to the infield as well. But probably best for him to serve as a starting outfielder here. He's got an on-base percentage over 300, 14 out of 16 in stolen base attempts, with 9 home runs. Not bad at all. 4th outfielder from Germany, Max Kepler. Right now he's batting .230 with a .295 on-base percentage, on pace for a career low in on-base percentage for the 9-year veteran. But he can provide some power. He's got 14 home runs and a .439 slugging. And the DH, you probably guessed it. From Japan, Shohei Ohtani, front runner for MVP in the American League. That'll go nicely with his MVP from 2 years ago, and his runner-up finish a year ago. Presently leads the league in 7 categories. Home runs, 36, triples, 7, walks, 60, slugging, 674, OPS, 1.072, OPS plus, 186, and total bases, 250. The best hitter in all of MLB. So that's quite the lineup. Ohtani, Acuna, Soto, Albies, Bogarts, Diaz, all together. No real weaknesses. There were a few players we had to put on there because they're the only players from their countries, but they did nothing to weaken this team, neither offensively nor defensively. But what about the pitching? Most of the countries known for producing major league talent have already been represented here by the hitting. With pitching, there will be a lot more players who are the sole representatives of their countries. Let's see what kind of pitching staff we can put together, starting with a 5-man rotation. Well, we've already included him as a hitter, and here he is again. From Japan, Shohei Ohtani. I said one player from each country, not a different country for each position, so he can fill both roles. 8-5 with a .371 ERA and 19 starts, 148 strikeouts in 111 innings. League leader in hits per 9 at 6.3. Top 5 finish in the Cy Young last year. His numbers are off from 2022, but still very good. From the USA, Blake Snell. A lot of pitchers I could have gone with here. The best starting pitchers are usually from the US. Snell leads all of MLB in ERA at .261 at this time, so I went with him. Also leads the league in ERA plus at 157. 21 starts, 114 innings, 147 strikeouts. For sure the ace of this rotation. From Puerto Rico, Jose Barrios. 21 starts, 124 innings, 3.40 ERA, 117 strikeouts. A record of 8-7. A whip of 1.190. Much better numbers than last year. He's allowing fewer hits and home runs this season. From Colombia, Julio Tehran. After missing the 2022 season, he's made 10 starts this year. 57 2/3 innings with an ERA of 3.75 and a whip of 1.040. Doesn't walk many batters. From Peru, Jesus Luzardo. He may not have stayed long after birth, but he was born in Peru. He's having maybe the best season of his 5-year career. 21 starts, 120 innings, 8 wins, 5 losses, ERA 3.22, with 144 strikeouts and a 1.147 whip. Luzardo, along with Snell, give the rotation 2 left-handed starters. And that's the rotation. Snell, Ohtani, Barrios, Tehran, and Luzardo. Good rotation. Not as impressive as the hitting, but nevertheless it's 5 quality pitchers. Now comes the bullpen. The hitting on this team will ensure that a lot of runs are scored. The starting pitchers will make sure the other team is mostly quiet for the first 5 or 6 innings. But what happens after that? Let's take a look. From Panama, Jaime Arias. I mention him first because he can also be used as a starting pitcher. This year he's made 6 starts and 15 relief appearances, totaling 59 innings with an ERA of 3.64. He was mostly a starting pitcher 2 years ago. Last year almost exclusively pitched in relief. He does better pitching out of the bullpen. From Canada, Jordan Romano, an all-star this year for the 2nd straight season. He's got a 2.83 ERA and an 11.37 whip in 43 relief appearances, 10.9 strikeouts per 9 innings. League leader at this time with 28 saves. From Australia, Liam Hendricks, one of the best closers the last 5 years, a 3-time all-star, led the league in saves a couple years ago. This year he had to undergo cancer treatment and dealt with an injury, so we've only seen him throw 5 innings, allowing 3. But when he's healthy, he's great. Not sure who I'd go for with closer, Hendricks or Romano. Maybe right now I'd say Romano at closer, Hendricks as a setup man. That would make a good combination to finish the game. From Nicaragua, Jonathan Loaizaga. He's seen very limited time this year due to injury. Only pitched 3 1/3 innings with 1 run allowed. Last year he made 50 relief appearances, ERA 4.13, WHIP 12.92. From Portugal, Isaiah Campbell. Yes, we have a Portuguese-born pitcher now. Just made his debut this season. And so far so good. 6 games, 6 innings, 1 run, 2 hits, 4 walks, and 8 strikeouts. Too early to judge him just yet, but he seems like a good arm for the bullpen. From South Africa, Taylor Scott. With 3 different teams this year, he's made 11 relief appearances and 2 starts, with an ERA of 6.39 and a WHIP of nearly 1.9. Also had an ERA over 6 in 2022. His time in MLB as the only South African may be over with soon. 2 more relievers needed, and we've run out of countries. Luckily, we've got a few more that played in MLB last year and are still actively playing somewhere. One is from Guam, Reid Foley. Last year, he had an ERA of 5.40 in 7 appearances. Explains why he's not at the top level now. He's played at 3 different levels in the minors this season. At AAA, he's got a 3.86 ERA and a 12.86 WHIP in 7 relief appearances. Not bad, maybe could still do alright out of the bullpen at the major league level. And from the U.S. Virgin Islands, Jarrell Cotton. Wasn't too bad a year ago. 30 games, ERA 3.56, WHIP 12.56. This year he was pitching in NPB, but it didn't go so well. 18 1/3 innings, ERA 5.89. Well, the quality of relievers took a hit towards the end there. That's definitely the team's weakness. You've got good arms to rely on for the last 2 innings, and some decent choices for middle relief. But the more this team has to dig into its bullpen, the more trouble it's going to get into. And at the end of the season, we expand the roster to 28, so we'll add 1 more position player and 1 more pitcher. From the Netherlands, Gregorius, a left-handed batting shortstop. Had some good seasons in the past, but in 2022 had a 5.67 OPS in 63 games. He was tearing it up in Mexico this summer, with 11 home runs in 26 games, so the Mariners decided to give him a chance. But so far, he's struggling at the AAA level. And last, from Hong Kong, Austin Bryce. Last year, he only threw 6 2/3 innings of relief at the big league level, allowing 3. This year, he's played for 2 different AAA teams, 21 relief appearances, ERA 7.45, with a WHIP over 2. And that's it. You see, we can fill up an entire 28-man roster with players from 28 different countries or territories. And until it got to the very end, it looked like all quality players. If this team was actually assembled, it would be the best offensive team in Major League Baseball. A solid rotation, a few good pieces in the bullpen, but that would no doubt be the team's weakness. What do you think about this team? How would you put it together differently? Let us know in the comments. That's all for this one, and until next time, this is Baseball International. See ya.